Hi everybody, this is Pete Meyer, technical editor for Motor Age Magazine, back with another episode of In the Workshop. Tonight's guest is a return guest, a gentleman I got the pleasure of meeting earlier this year to talk about brakes and braking issues and how products by the name of Wagner ThermoQuiet was able to solve a lot of those problems for us out in the field. His name is Peter Mernon. He is the Global Marketing Director for Wagner Braking Products. Mr. Mernon, how are you today?
Hey Pete, good. How are you?
Good, good, good. I know that when we spoke last, we talked a little bit about some things that were coming down the road for not just Wagner, but any manufacturer for brake pads.
Right.
A low copper content initiative, wasn't it?
Right, that's right.
Yeah, I understand that there was. Well, let's talk about first what caused this need for low copper phase out. What is that? Where did that come from?
Well, I think we talked about before. It's the fish. We did a lot of studies. Well, we didn't do a lot of studies. The governments in Washington and California did a lot of studies of their waterways, and specifically San Francisco Bay. And they found that copper runoff from brake pads was finding its way into the bay and into the salmon and into the fish within the bay. So that's where the legislations come from. It's coming from trying to control the copper in the waterways. A little bit like emission controls back in the old days when they put the legislation on emissions. This is kind of the same thing. Now we're just trying to protect the waterways.
Yeah, I'm sure that there's a lot of guys out there going like, yeah, really? But if you think about it, guys, I mean, it makes a lot of sense. You know, as those brake pads wear, that dust is going somewhere. So anything that's in that dust, laying on the road surfaces or on the side of the road, mixing with the soil, getting caught in the rainwater, I guess it makes sense in the long term, right? So what exactly does the current legislation call for?
Well, the current legislation calls for brake manufacturers to have copper content below 5% by 2021 and to have basically below 0.05% by 2025. And if you think about it today, copper's used pretty much as a mainstay in a lot of ceramic formulas. Some ceramic formulas can have up to 20% copper content, so that's no easy task for a brake manufacturer, for a formulator to take that amount of copper out of some of the formulations that are out there.
Yeah, I know we talked a little bit about those challenges when I had the chance to come up to the Motor City to see you personally. And like you just mentioned, it's like not in effect till 2021. And I was surprised when I saw the press release come across my desk that you guys are already at that point. So tell me, how did Wagner get so far ahead of the game?
Well, what you got to remember about Wagner is we're big in the aftermarket, but we're also the global OE leader. So from an OE standpoint, the OE manufacturers really took the lead on this and came to us as an OE manufacturer of brake pads and said, you guys need to hit this spec early, we need to be green, we need to be ahead of the curve on this 2021. And if you think about it, the OE guys are thinking it just like the aftermarket guys would be. They can't have a separate car just for California and Washington. Those are two pretty big markets in the United States. So the OE manufacturers are really redesigning their braking systems around these regulations that are going into effect basically in 2014. So it's really the OE side that drove us on the aftermarket side. We decided to lead on the OE market, and then we brought that technology into the aftermarket like we do in a lot of cases with Wagner Brake.
Yeah, I mean, that all makes sense. I mean, certainly, you know, the guys who are designing these cars, they have to meet those same requirements, and they're not working on in 2013, they're not working on 2014 models. I mean, they're working several years down the road, as you pointed out, and being in a position where your company is such a large supplier to the OE, I can certainly understand that. Now, you know, the car manufacturers, they're not, as you said, producing cars for just these two states where these legislation is currently in place. But the Wagner brand is an aftermarket brand. Are you just going to be offering these pads for those markets, or is this something that at any shop anywhere across the country will be able to get?
No, we have the same problem that Audi does, right? We can't manufacture brake pads for a specific state and ensure that just those just that state will get that formula. So we're reformulating our entire our entire offering. So the low copper and eventually copper-free brake pads will be available across North America.
Yeah, and I guess, of course, if it's going on in Washington and going on in California, we can certainly expect that to see that roll into other states over the time, certainly.
Yeah, usually in a lot of this legislative action, those two states lead, especially California, and then we see that roll out across the rest of North America.
Yeah, so I mean, bottom line is you guys are just way ahead of the curve. But I got to ask you this. You know, anytime there's a major change like that, we're taking, as you mentioned, copper, up to 20% used in ceramic formulations for that friction ability. As a technician, as a shop owner, what can I expect to see from this new formulation in terms of its ability to do the same thing that the older pad designs did?
Well, when our R&D guys, when the engineers kind of got together and started working on the challenge, they took it upon themselves to challenge themselves. And they said, we've got to reformulate. We're the leader. We're an OE leader. We're the aftermarket leader. We're not going to come out with something new that's anything less than our best. So let's come out with something that's the best product that we ever made. So they didn't try to kind of meet the standards of what we had been making before. They tried to surpass the standards of what we had been making before and improve the product. So that was kind of an internal challenge that we gave ourselves in the design phase.
So that's something that not only were you looking to make up for any limitations you might be faced with having to remove copper from the friction material, but to take what you already had with the copper and improve on the overall product, right?
Well, yeah, we're a premium manufacturer both on the OE and the aftermarket side. So if we're going to lead on the copper side, we want to lead on the performance side as well. So yeah, we took it upon ourselves to challenge ourselves and take our friction program to the next level from a performance standpoint.
Now, what exactly is it that copper does, in the ceramic formulation, and how did your engineers, how did your staff, come up with ways to replace that?
Well, copper is a friction modifier within a lot of ceramic formulas. So what our guys did is they went through a process called tribological fingerprinting, and basically what that means, it's a real fancy word for saying that they took each element of the friction formula and analyzed it so they could understand exactly what each element did within the formulation. You know what I mean? So if I took out a little bit of this and put in a little bit of that, they would know exactly what the performance characteristics they would get by taking elements out and putting elements back in. The fingerprinting allows you to really understand how to change the formulation and really dial it in. After doing the tribological fingerprinting of our own formulas, they went out and did it on about 1,500 or so replacement elements for copper, and they figured out the right mix of those replacement elements so that they could insert them into the formulas that we had, get the improved performance that they want while taking out the copper content. So it's a pretty complicated process of really isolating the materials within the formulation.
Well, I mean, that sounds like an awful lot of dedicated work to come up with that solution and to meet it way ahead of the deadlines. It really says a lot for Wagner's R&D departments.
Yeah, definitely. The R&D department that created this, it's called OE21, is in Bad Camberg, Germany. And then they worked with the group here in Detroit on localizing it here in the United States and bringing it over for the Detroit manufacturers.
So now I got to ask, of course, the pessimistic question. It's not required in all states. It won't be required in all states, at least not now. But this product is certainly available to techs and shop owners. Why, as a tech, would I want to select the new CeramicNXT with the OE21 formula? Why would I want to use that instead of the conventional pads?
Well, just like a lot of the innovations that have happened in the past, a lot of it's based on what's going on the OE side. And this is the biggest thing on the OE side. So from a tech perspective, I know the techs out there really want to follow the OE innovations. They want to be up on the latest and greatest. They want to replace on the vehicle the same performance that took off the vehicle, especially on a premium brake job. So that's why we wanted to be first. We knew that we were going to be first on the OE side. We wanted to be first on the aftermarket side with OE21 for that reason. The other reason techs are going to want to follow this is because of just the quality of the brake job. We've upgraded TQ on the OE21, and now they're going to get the latest, greatest, best formulation. Techs want to reduce comebacks. Techs want zero problems with a brake job that they do, and that's the kind of work that we've put into this formula to ensure that this is the best formula that's out there.
Awesome. And so I guess to sum it up, the new OE21 pads are going to give working technicians and shop owners the opportunity to use a pad that improves on the old ThermoQuiet formulation. It gives them a quieter brake pad. It's going to give them better friction quality, less dusting than the previous pads. All dusting, benefits.
Yeah, dusting's something that we've worked hard on for years and years, and I think if you talk to techs out there, they'll tell you that all the Wagner formulas are pretty low dusting. So from a dusting standpoint, that's part of what we look at. We look at dusting when we're designing the formulas too. So we've tried to take it to the next level on dusting as well. So that's pretty important to us. It's pretty important to the American consumer.
Another question comes up off the line here. Are you familiar with any of the new OEM platforms, or when the first OEM platforms will come rolling off the assembly line that will be utilizing this technology?
They're already coming off the assembly lines utilizing the technology. We on the OE side, we were in production with it last year. So we've been in production with it for a while now. I know that even in 2015, our partner Audi, who makes products in Germany, by the way, are using these formulas that we've created. So they're already in play. They're already out in the marketplace. And it's the same on the aftermarket side with Wagner. We've had these formulas in production for a number of months, going back to the beginning of 2013. So we've been putting them out in the marketplace and getting some experience, trial and error, and putting them in our products for a while. So they're already in the bays. The techs don't know it, but they've been seeing them for most of the year this year.
Yes, certainly that's something that you may see them for a couple of models, but you have a lot of models that you have to cover, and it takes a while to build up the machine to get all of them spit out, right?
So, yeah, we call it turning the Titanic.
Yeah.
It takes a while to turn the Titanic.
Right, yeah. Now, you mentioned earlier, right at the beginning of our talk, that 2021 was the deadline for the 0.5%, I believe you said it was. But there's going to be down the road that effectively zero copper mandate. That was 2025, I think you said?
Yeah, 2021 is 5%. Okay, so by 2021 we have to be less than 5%. By 2025 we have to be at 0.5%. That's the law. Yeah. So we're already 21 already. OE21. That's what that means.
Sure.
We're already in development on OE25. I'm sure you can imagine we're going to call it that. So
sure.
We're already in development on OE25. We're getting pretty close to it, to be honest with you. We're not ready to come out with it yet, but we'll be in production on OE25 well before 2025 . So we're in the works on it. Things within Wagner, things always work on the OE side first, and then they find their way over to the aftermarket.
Sure, and that's giving you a lot of confidence, guys. If you're a tech or shop owner and you're looking to make sure you use a product that is going to do right by your customer, how can you do better than the same material and product that the OE is using right on its own assembly line, just in a different box? And of course, one advantage I can immediately see from the new OE21, in addition to the benefits that Peter already mentioned, is the need to be green. There are a lot of customers that are environmentally conscious and are willing to pay a difference or a premium to use materials and products that that are environmentally friendly, so that's certainly a selling point for your shop. And I guess I should ask that, Peter, in comparison, price points, can you give me an idea of what we can expect? Is this in line, a little more, a little less than the current NXT line?
We're not having any price adjustments for this. We're going full bore with where we're at right now. So we're going to stay steady from a pricing standpoint right now on OE21. So no change. We're awesome. Trying to make it green without making it hurt.
Yeah, that's much appreciated. And, well, there you go. How much better does it get, fellas, to consider using the new ThermoQuiet CeramicNXT OE21 low copper brake pads for your customers' brake jobs? Peter, thanks so much for sharing this information with us. Again, it was a real pleasure talking to you, and hopefully we can do this again sometime soon.
Okay, we'll see you again soon, Pete. Take care.